Well, it looked like you guys had an incredible turnout yesterday in Tuscaloosa, and I hate to really start this off on a somber note, but what I saw from seeing some of the images of Annette Sanderson's funeral yesterday, and that was the wife of Coach Wimp Sanderson, whom you played for at Alabama. It seemed like y'all just had a great turnout of former players. What was that like for you?
It's always good to see former teammates and coaches and to support Coach Sanderson. Miss Annette was great to all of us. And there were lots of stories to talk about what she meant to each person. And so she was a sweet lady, and I'm sorry for her passing, and I hate she's gone, but I just remember the good things about her, and that's what we talked about. As for the players, seeing some of players I look up to players that I played with was great, and hanging out with them was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it really seems like it was a testament to how much y'all love Coach Sanderson.
Yes, Coach Sanderson, he's like Twitter for the basketball team. He's communicating with everybody. He's calling to ask how you doing, how's your family, how's your wife. He's constantly communicating.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I want to get better at because of him. He remembers everything. He remembers each game. He remembers everything about your life.
Yeah.
And so you want to support a person that has that level of interest in you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we all love Coach Sanderson.
And I never played for him, but I've gotten to know him as a journalist, and he does have this gruff exterior. I mean, like the scowl that is kind of permanently on his face, and there are times when that does come out. But I've also seen a tremendous amount of grace that he's shown me. I mean, he has been so kind to me and so available to do a story or an article or just whatever, and open his home up to me. So I've seen that side of him. And what was it like for you as a player, playing for him and then getting to know him on a personal level?
Yeah. So the same thing. He has so many instances where the rough exterior turns into that fatherly, loving, caring demeanor too. I remember distinctly, when I tore my ACL before I started with Alabama, and I'm in the hospital, in the Drury City Hospital. It was April 1st, which is crazy, and he came to the hospital and talked to me and says, "Gary, you're going to be fine." I'm thinking to myself, my career is over. That's my only injury I've ever had. And so to see him come to the hospital room and talk to me and assure me, "You're still my point guard. You're still going to play for University of Alabama. We're going to take care of you." And that's how he is. He's obviously has to have a certain demeanor because you're dealing with men that are bigger than him and strong guys. You have to show some level of aggression to make sure that you keep their attention and respect. And so he demanded that on the court, but off the court, he was very understanding. He was very much like a father figure to a lot of us.
When I played at Walker High School in Jasper for Coach Phil Schumacher, and then I played 2 years of junior college basketball for Coach Glenn Clem, who knew Coach Sanderson. But the practices, particularly under Clem, this is not to discredit Coach Schumacher, were way harder. What was practice like going from high school to Coach Sanderson's practices?
So my high school was a very difficult situation for a coach. I had Coach Mike Hall. He was a very difficult coach to play for. You had to play 100% all the time. So the transition for me wasn't as bad. But I talked to him yesterday, matter of fact, Coach Dave Hobbs. He was the defensive coordinator, per se, for the University of Alabama. And we talked about it. And so he was demanding of defense. He was demanding of me to run through that screen. Do not get screened. And so there was a level of toughness I developed defensively that changed at the University of Alabama. Offensively, Coach Sanderson simply wanted to beat the second team. So the starting five had to beat the second five, which Coach Hobbs would coach the second five. And so if we're beating the second five, practice wasn't as long. But you let the second five start beating us, practice would be long, and Coach Sanderson would kick the ball in the stands. He'll make us run, and it was tough then.
Yeah.
So we had to practice hard.
Yeah.
We had to run the plays. We had to run the fast break. We had to do it at 100% every time.
Mm-hmm.
And if he saw that, he was fine with it. But again, I played for Mike Hall at Towers High School, and he demanded the same thing. So it was an easy transition for me to have a yelling, tough disciplinarian type of coach.
Mm-hmm. You've got, and you and I were talking about this before we went on, but you've got a tremendous amount of respect for a lot of those guys that came before you, particularly at the point guard position. So let's talk for just a minute about just a few of those guys that you've gotten to know, and then let's talk a little bit about some of the younger guys.
So Terry Connor was a point guard before me, and I think the world of Terry Connor. I think he still looks like he should be playing basketball today. His son plays AAU basketball right now. So does mine. And I've always liked Terry Connor's demeanor on the court. He scores when he needs to score. He commands the ball all the time. He knows what plays to run. He knows when to shoot the ball. He had great talent around him, but without Terry Connor, I don't think Derrick McKey would be as good. Mm-hmm. And Derrick McKey yesterday, matter of fact, told me that, and he's played with a lot of point guards, said that Terry Connor was probably one of the best point guards he played with. Mm-hmm. And so that tells a lot about him. But at the funeral yesterday, I saw Enos Watley, who is, to me, the greatest.
The man. Yeah.
I love Enos Watley.
Yeah.
I just seen so many, videos of what he could do on the court, and he also played in the NBA, played overseas, stopped playing when he was 36 years old. So Enos Watley, I just think the world of. So he and Terry Connor are the ones before me that I idolize.
Yeah.
And so I love both of them.
Yeah. Let's talk about Sherer for a moment, because he just wrapped up an incredible career at Alabama. I mean, really just unbelievable, the kind of success that Mark Sherer has had as a point guard at Alabama. What impresses you most about him? And then the second part of that question is, what do you think are some challenges for him moving forward in his NBA career?
What I'm always been impressed with Mark Sherer is his ability to know what to do at the right time to help his team win. I think Mark Sherer will come down the court and make a huge three-point attempt from NBA range. Next time he'll come down the court, they double team him. He may go between both of them, go to the basket for a layup. On the defensive end, he may take a charge at an extremely important time. He would dive on the floor. He'll get a rebound. So I think what impressed me about Mark Sherer is his whole body of work. He does whatever it takes for that team to win, and you can see the success of University of Alabama basketball is primarily based upon his guard play and everybody else around him having to have that same level of intensity for the greater good of winning a game. So I think his ability to affect winning is what he does best.
What I was really impressed with after he got benched, I guess it was the LSU game, he got benched, and his resiliency, was impressive to me, because the next game was the Mississippi State game. And he came back and he had a good game. Not a great game, but he had a good game against a very formidable opponent in Josh Hubbard. But then that Missouri game, it was on the road. Bama ended up losing the game, but Sherer was absolutely on fire, and he responded. And so to me, his resilience. But let's talk about challenges moving forward. I know that nobody is a complete point guard. Maybe Jason Kidd is, or Magic was, but what do you think are some challenges that he's got, in terms of being able to have a successful NBA career?
Distributing the ball. That's very important to me, but the game has changed too. So when you say point guard today, I don't really see too many true point guards in the NBA anymore, right? So for me, going right more, passing off the dribble more with his right hand, showing me that level of skill set that he can do those things, getting other people involved. When you're gonna get stopped in the NBA, you're gonna get your attempts, but what do you do when you're not making a jump shot? How are you going to impact winning at the next level? Meaning, you got to distribute the ball to other players and know the guy that's guarding you is only one person. You got to know what's behind him, left and right, to determine if you need to penetrate to the right or to the left to get that shooter open that's in the corner. And so a lot more, stuff that he needs that is more on an NBA level, which is thinking wise. You need to know what you need to do if this guy stops you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I need to see out of him next is how do you counteract whatever defense is going against you? Because you may go against a guy that's switched off on you that's, I don't know, Tyrese Halliburton, for instance. He's 6'5", he's long, he's rangy, he's quick. And so then you may get switched off to a center that you may have to guard or that may be guarding you. What are you going to do to affect the winning at that time? And so those are decisions that you grow into, and he will grow into that. And now he'll get better at all those things I'm talking about. It's just he's been so successful in what he's doing at this level, which is fine. So, again, I think decision-making and handling the ball more with his offhand.
It's a different ball game in the NBA.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever, experienced that, but it is a different game. Do you ever, and I feel like you're kind of like me, I'm old school. I mean, I'm 47 years old, but I'm old school. And basketball has changed.
Yeah.
Football has changed. Do you ever watch the game and just get frustrated? Because basketball has changed a whole lot since you were playing, since I was playing. Do you ever just watch it and go, what in the world is this?
All the time.
I figured you did.
I'm 55, so I'm older than you.
Yeah.
But I do understand when you have outside people coming in telling coaches that 3 is more than 2, that that's what that's what they're going to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I understand. Going back to Alabama, Coach Oates, his understanding of getting the ball down the court quicker, getting a 3-point attempt, get more attempts at a higher volume of points that can be scored, you can win that way. I'm under the old school adage of I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win, right? If I need a 3, if you plan to pack in the zone, then I'm gonna go for the 3. But I'm gonna go for the mid-range shot if it's open by the right person. I'm gonna go by the 3-point attempt if it's open. I want to post up. I want to get you in foul trouble. I want to get to your bench because if I get to your bench, I don't need a 3-pointer. I just need a consistent 2.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to win the game by scoring consistent 2s and 3s when it's opportunistic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you need another option if the 3's just not falling.
Yeah.
You've got to have the ability to get to the line and score a 2 if that 3's not. And I will go to my grave, thinking that late 80s, mid to late 80s, 90s basketball, particularly in the NBA, is the best basketball that's ever been played. Would you agree with that?
I can agree with that because when I look at some of the teams, you got the Bulls and their successes with Michael Jordan, but you look at the NBA as a whole, you had Reggie Miller shooting 3s. You had Craig Hodges and different guys shooting 3s, but it wasn't like every time down the court, you shoot a 3 and miss.
Yeah.
You shoot a 3 and miss. You shoot a 3 and miss. I'm thinking about the big man that's getting the rebounds.
Yeah.
That's rim chasing, and he's right here wide open.
Yeah.
I see the guy going to the baskets now. Going to the basket. There's a clear layup, but then you have a guy in the corner. They'll throw the ball to the corner for a 3-point attempt.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can see recently the Boston Celtics, they're down 0-2 to the New York Knicks based on just what we're talking about. You have to be able to make a consistent 2 and an opportunistic 3. I just don't think every time down the court a 3-point attempt should be taken.
That you're jacking 3s up all the time. Yeah.
And you look at the New York Knicks now; they're up 2-0 because they go to the basket, but they also have mid-range shooting.
Yeah. Now I know a pretty good amount about your basketball career, but I don't know a whole lot about your growing up years. So I do want to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
You grew up in Decatur, Georgia. Tell us about what life was like growing up until the point you got to Alabama.
Well, my mom and dad divorced when I was 3. And so my mom did the best she could. I'm the youngest of 5. And so you can imagine the struggles that we would have to endure based on being the youngest of 5 with just my mom taking care of us. And so we moved to different places. I never really stayed and developed those long-term friendships based on my mom had to do what's best for the family. And so that was tough, but I never went hungry. I never went without. She did the best she could all the time. She's the reason why I think all of us work hard. We're never late. We're going to be on time. We're going to be respectful. We're going to do what we need to do to be successful in the world. So I appreciate my mom to no end. Basketball-wise, I have a sister that's older than me that was Georgia Class Player of the Year 2 years in a row. So my sister was one of the best players I've ever seen. So I'm playing against her and everybody else that's older than me all the time. I never played against my age group. So basketball was easy for me. And so when I got to high school and started playing, it's like, this is just easy. It never came hard to me because I've been doing it for so long. And then started on varsity in 10th grade, and from that time on, I've just been starting. So never had an injury until I had the torn ACL playing in. I got selected to play in a junior Olympic team over in Germany, Mannheim, Germany, and we were winning the game by 30 points. And I'd already signed to go to Alabama, and I come down the court, and the fans were mad that their German players were losing by 30 points. They threw cups on the court. I slip on the ice, tear my ACL.
Gosh.
That changed everything.
Yeah.
In 1987, I had to have surgery on my ACL.
Yeah.
And so from being a ultra quick point guard, obviously that's going to take a lot out of you, especially at that time. And so I had a full cast on my leg my freshman year at Alabama.
Wow.
Well, not my freshman year. Before my freshman year, I had a cast on my leg that summer. Had a full cast on my leg. So my leg atrophied to the point where it was, tiny.
Yeah.
And that was in June. No, I had the surgery in, June of 1987. I rehabbed. I actually lived at the Coliseum. So I'm talking to Joe Corona, who was a trainer yesterday. I'm talking to Joe Corona. And I hugged him. And I said, Joe, I don't think I would have made it without you.
Yeah.
Because every day he would come into the arena, Coleman Coliseum. There's one little door to the right. He would knock on the door. Him and Sang Lada. He was a trainer, and they would wake me up. Steve Marshall. They would wake me up. I would go to the training room, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I would get on this machine. I don't know what it's called, but you go up and down. It's resistance both ways.
Yeah.
And I did it then. I go back to my little room, and I would go to sleep, take a nap. Noon, I would get right back up, do the same thing. Go to sleep. Afternoon, do the same thing. So I had 3 workouts a day on my knee. But I was starting for University of Alabama December of 1987. So from the time I graduated high school, playing in the tournament in March, I think it was, to having the surgery, and to start for Alabama was all in 1 year. And I probably should have stayed out in that 1 year, but I played that freshman year with a full brace on. So,
what was your recruitment process like?
it was, it was a lot of coaches. I didn't keep none of the stuff. Distinctly, I remember this one thing though. I got recruited by most of the SEC, most of the ACC, and Big Ten. Even actually, Princeton recruited me pretty hard. Yeah, Princeton. And so anyway, I remember this one letter I received, because back then you received letters. There wasn't any Twitter, any Instagram.
You received letters. I didn't receive any letters.
Yeah, I got letters.
If you're good enough.
I got letters,
Right.
and I wish I would have kept this one letter. It was from Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds played football
For Florida State.
Florida State.
That's right, yeah.
He wrote me a handwritten
Wow.
letter.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But because, we moved every 2 years.
Yeah. You lost a letter?
I lost so much stuff.
Oh, man.
Tons of stuff I've lost.
Yeah.
But that meant the most to me. That's what I remember the most. Burt Reynolds. I love Burt Reynolds.
Did you consider Florida State? I mean, was
it
close on Florida
State? Yeah. I consider Florida State significantly. I really, they came a lot.
Wow.
Coach Zimroff was his name, was the recruiter. Really had a good relationship with him.
Yeah.
But the one thing that turned me off about Florida State was he was recruiting another guy in Georgia named Aubrey Boyd.
Okay.
Aubrey Boyd was a 6'5" point guard. Okay.
Yeah.
I say this in quotation marks because you're not a point guard, right? Coach Zimroff said, whichever one of you comes to the university or commits first to the university, that's the one that'll be the point guard. The ones who come second will be the two guard. I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Because somebody you recruit first,
Yeah.
I said, I'm all point guard. You know I am.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to play anything else.
Yeah.
This guy here, he can play point guard, but he's
Yeah.
not going to be as good as me at point guard.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just doesn't have the skill. I know it.
Yeah.
And so when he said that, I was done.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done with it.
Kind of a Zimrod comment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk about 88, 89.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you lead the SEC in assists.
Mm-hmm.
You're 23-8, playing for Coach Sanderson. You're playing alongside guys like Michael Ansley, David Benoit, Keith Askins. I mean, is this just bliss for you as a player?
Loved it. Only one of those guys that you just mentioned I haven't spoken to is Mike Ansley. I love Mike Ansley. I haven't spoken with him. David Benoit, we text and talk. Keith Askins, obviously I talked to him yesterday. Derrick McKey, I didn't play with Derrick, but you know, Melvin Cheatham,
Horry,
Robert Horry.
Yeah.
I mean, pros. So for me, when I tell people about getting the outlet pass from Robert Horry, looking to my right and seeing Latrell Sprewell, my left seeing James Robinson. I mean, come on. What other we had pros on our team.
It's an embarrassment of riches.
We had pros on our team. Our
Yeah.
starting five was pros.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how any other team can duplicate that level of success from a basketball perspective that I've seen. You know, we had a really good team.
Mm-hmm. Who are some guys that you were closest friends with?
Melvin Cheatham and I, that's like my brother, and Marcus Campbell, we all came in together. You know, so I'm obviously going to be close to those guys. And Keith Askins as well, he's my roommate for 3 years. But again, I love the old guys too, you know, not old, but Derrick McKey, he just cracked. Every time I see Derrick, I just laugh because we have a little inside joke going.
Yeah.
And I saw Bobby Lee Hurt yesterday, another guy that just makes me smile.
Yeah.
You know, and so I admire the guys who came before me, and I always seek them out and try to learn something from them.
Mm-hmm. Coach Sanderson was the basketball coach during that time, and Bill Curry was the football coach. It was a little bit different era for Alabama football. It was the post-Bear era. Did the basketball players and the football players have a friendship? Did y'all interact with them a whole lot?
Unbelievable relationships with football players. I mean, if you ask any of the football players from that time frame that you just mentioned, what do you think about Gary Waits? And they always say, oh, gee, Waits, that's my boy. Because I'm a football player at heart, right?
Yeah.
My level of toughness comes from, that's my first sport that I loved. I used to play football in the streets all the time. And I remember catching a football in the street one day, and the guy went under me, and I just fell on my arm and blood everywhere. I love football. Absolutely love football. So a lot of my friends I still communicate with are football players from Alabama. Derek Glasgow I just talked to yesterday.
Yeah.
Roosevelt Patterson and Curtis Brown, those guys, and I just and Kerry Gould, you know, Clyde Gould, and all those guys. They like my brothers. Love them to death.
Yeah. Did you get to know Derrick Thomas very well?
Derrick Thomas, so Derrick Thomas had a BMW M5, right? And I'm just so amazed with Derrick Thomas, just his ability to play, right?
Yeah.
So he and I, again, he loved basketball. So he wants me to go to the car or go to the store. I don't remember which one. But I go to the car, and he's got the bag phone. You know, the phone.
Right, okay.
I said, oh, my God, he's got a mobile phone. It was huge.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the phone. I'm looking at the car, crank it up, and this rumbling sound is just. And he had so much success.
Yeah.
At University of Alabama, and this is way of playing football. And then he going on to Kansas City. I just said I could not believe how great he was. And I know this guy.
He was the man.
Yeah, and I know him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, it just made me feel good. But then it hurts, you know, to see him, you know, go away like he did. But I just think the world of it.
Yeah.
He always thought about the kids.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, he loved the kids and did everything he could do to help children. So just a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I think about the heyday of Alabama basketball, when I think about, I mean, and of course I'm nostalgic to that era, but I mean like Coleman Coliseum, 1988, 89, 90. I mean, that right there, it really doesn't get any better paint us a picture, man, of that scene. I mean, parquet and plaid.
Mhm.
I mean, I think in 88, 89, y'all didn't lose a game at home. I mean, I think you went one year. You don't lose a game at home. You win every game at Coleman Coliseum, go undefeated. What was that like for people that never got to experience that?
It's like, how can I explain it? It's an expectation of excellence, right? We expected to win every game that we could because we knew we had great coaching, we had great planning, we had great defensive pressure, we had great scoring, we all liked each other, we hung out with each other. It's like there's no other team that can come in here and beat us. If you beat us, because we didn't play as well as we should have. That's the way we felt. And so having a sellout every single game and all the fans in the stands way before the game to see, you know, the level of success we had, the lob dunks to Robert Horry, you know, Melvin Cheatham and James Robinson and Tristan, all these guys we've had that were so exciting to watch, and the intensity that we had, it's unmatched. Now, today's game, you know, at Coleman, those guys are great. You know, you have a team that actually went farther than what we did. Final Four, you know, I never made it to the Final Four. I made it to the Sweet 16. And so I look at Alabama basketball right now, and it's a very good place. And I think what you see now at the university started from, you know, the Derrick McKey and Enos Watley and all those eras, because those eras were also great too. And we just didn't see them.
Yeah. I want to combine a couple questions that I've got here and talk about losses. I mean, y'all win 3 SEC tournaments in a row, but then at the end of the year in 88, 89, and then 89, 90, you have a couple of very heartbreaking losses. The first one is that I want to talk about is the South Alabama loss. That was, I know that had to have stung, and then I want to talk about the Loyola game.
Okay, so playing South Alabama in-state team that, you know, Coach Sanderson would never play anybody outside of Auburn in the state, all right? And so first round, we coming off of a terrible year, my freshman year. We go into my sophomore year, and we made it. You know, we won the SEC tournament. We go to the first round in Atlanta, my hometown, playing in the Omni. First half, my son sent me video, actually, of some of the points I scored. And I'm like, wow, we're winning. We're blowing this team out, right? Second half comes, and just something switched, and they start calling fouls more. And Joe Corona talked about this yesterday, actually, about some of the stuff that we saw happen that probably shouldn't have happened in the game that we couldn't control. And they came back and won that game. And that never should have happened. And so for me, it was extremely tough because my family, friends are in the stands there in Atlanta. And I'm feeling good about myself coming off of a torn ACL, having a great first, you know, NCAA game in my life, feeling good. And we lose a game. So that hurt. Big time, that hurt.
What about the Loyola game? What do you remember most about that experience?
The Loyola Marymount game, I remember them holding our arms and the referee not calling the fouls. Them fouling us at the end of that game and the referee. Because if you remember, there was an Arsenio Hall show. They had Bo Kimball being interviewed by Arsenio Hall. That lets you know how old I am. So Arsenio Hall didn't once ask a question of who they were playing. Bo Kimball never once said Alabama, right? So we had just beaten University of Arizona, which I think was a better team. So we playing Loyola Marymount, and Coach Sanderson and Melvin Cheatham and I kind of agreed with, we want to show them we could go as fast as you, but we're better than you. We have more talent than you. But Coach Sanderson wanted to slow the offense down and make them work defensively and not allow them to go up and down the court. I think we could have beat them at their own game because they were tired at the end of the game. We weren't even tired. I could see them tired. But at the end of the game, we were up by 8 points at one time, and then, I don't know, and I'm not going to go into the the referee type stuff or whatever, but I think America wanted them to win that game rather than us because
it was a very emotional.
Yeah, and I feel bad.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Gallows just passed away.
Yeah.
I
Also
understand
best
it.
player, yeah.
But they were holding our arms at that light, and they're not calling any foul.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you not see what they're doing to us? So we go from an 8-point, we're up 8 points till we're up about, we're down by 1. And so we get to the end of the game, and Melvin Cheatham gets the ball in the post, and he pulls up for the shot, and he misses, and we lose the game.
Yeah.
And so I remember I told Melvin this yesterday, too. I said, Melvin, I was wide open in the corner. You didn't see me. So anyway, I really feel like I could have made that shot, but he took the better shot.
Yeah, but you feel like you were better than Loyola.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, that game was basically in L.A., was it not? It was in California.
It was in Oakland.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. It was in Oakland.
There was no doubt we were better than Loyola Marymount.
Yeah.
No doubt. Just look at from the guys that played in the NBA compared to Loyola. Bo Kimball was traded from it was Sacramento. No, LA Clippers.
Yeah.
LA Clippers, because him and one other guy. Because when I went to the New York Knicks, Charles Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Smith, Bo Kimball, and Mark Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They had to get Bo Kimball because the Clippers didn't want Bo Kimball. So when he came to New York, that pushed me out because they had a guaranteed contract that they had to take on.
Mm-hmm.
So Bo Kimball never played one game with the New York Knicks, but they signed him, paid him his money, and cut him. He was at camp with me. Bo Kimball is maybe an inch taller than me, but could not dribble the basketball without looking at it.
Yeah.
So I never really respected him, and I didn't like him because we lost him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but he didn't make it with the Knicks, and I felt okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't make it either because they had to get him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, anyway, that hurt a lot.
Yeah.
That hurt a lot.
When I think back to that era, I mean, there are a lot of other conferences that got a ton of hype, understandably. I mean, you had Indiana in the Big Ten, you had Syracuse in the Big East, you had teams like Oklahoma and Kansas that were out west, but the SEC was very good, very good. So who are some guys that you played against that were tough?
I think about one guy, and he lives in Atlanta right now. His name is Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf now, but it's Chris Jackson back then.
Yeah.
The toughest point guard I ever went against. No doubt. And you got Allen Houston up there in Tennessee. You think about, we talked about Gerald Glass. Shaquille O'Neal obviously was tough. You have Vernon Maxwell and Dwayne Shenson down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You have good players. But for me specifically, Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, I have nothing but respect for. He's the toughest I've seen. Laterro Green at Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And Laterro Green and Rod Cole, great friend of mine. Like my brother, Rod Cole, he's in Atlanta. Those guys were very tough, very physical, strong. But at the end of the day, Chris Jackson, most difficult player to guard. He was ultra quick. And I just couldn't fathom somebody being that quick from the transition from dribbling between your legs to releasing a basketball. He was like a cat quick.
If I'm talking to a 14, 15-year-old kid that knows nothing about that era, and I'm trying to describe a basketball team that was great, UNLV's coming up. And what was your perception of them at the time? What as a player playing during that era? Because there was an intimidation factor about them.
Man, I wish we could have played, and we would have played them if we would have won against either Loyola. I can't remember.
Yeah, Loyola ended up playing them.
Yeah,
they got beat by 30, I think.
If we would have played UNLV,
yeah,
I think UNLV would have. They didn't want to play us.
Yeah,
think about it. UNLV had Greg Anthony. I went against Greg Anthony in New York Knicks, by the way.
Yeah,
right. And ask the New York Knicks what happened up there. The guys who were back there: Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, who was I loved Anthony Mason.
Yeah,
God rest his soul. Xavier McDaniel, John Starks, Patrick Ewing.
Yeah.
Ask them about Greg Anthony and I, what they would think about. So I know I could play him.
Yeah.
Larry Johnson. Okay, we got Melvin Cheatham that's
Yeah.
taller than him that's going to score on him.
Yeah.
Not or David Benoit, whichever one you want.
Yeah.
Stacey Opp. We have
Yeah.
Keith Askins that's like him, right?
Yeah.
Probably a better defender.
Yeah. You
Right?
may be a little bit better matchup with UNLV than you were with Loyola, possibly.
No doubt.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
I wish those referees would have
Yeah.
allowed us to take the ball
Yeah.
in the court against Loyola.
Yeah.
We had that game won.
Yeah.
Right? Coach
Yeah.
Sanderson, after that game, was furious. He was apologetic to
Yeah.
us. He said, I'm sorry, you guys, that it did you like this. Right?
Well, I also feel like he doesn't think he coached a very good game. I mean, which I don't agree with that.
No,
I mean,
we did fine. We were up by 8 points.
Yeah.
You know, we lost the game.
Right.
And we can dispute that from a player perspective because Melvin Cheatham and I, we kind of agree. We wish you'd allowed us to play that fast
Yeah.
too because, you know, just let you know, coming out of high school, that's all we did was
Right.
run fast. And so for me, having a more organized, slow down game is not who I am. I wish University of Alabama could have seen me go without my knee and just go fast, and you'll see a big difference. So we didn't get to do that. So if we could have played UNLV, I am almost positive that it would not have been a 30-point blowout like they did against Loyola. And I think we could have beat them. I really do. I think we have equal talent, if not more. I mean, remember, we had a guy named Marcus Webb on the bench, right? Who was a 6'9", 265-pound guy that can run it down the court, 3% body fat. So Larry Johnson and I went to the pre-draft camp together. We sat right beside each other. The Ken Baby Tumbo in Chicago for the pre-draft camp. Larry Johnson is 6'5", maybe 6'6". We had 6'9". We had 6'9", 6'9", 6'9". David Benoit, you know, Robert Horry, 6'10", basically. Melvin Cheatham, Marcus Webb. Had another guy, Marcus Campbell, who's about Larry Johnson size. So we had horses that could run down the court. They didn't have a bench. If you think back to UNLV, their bench was nothing. Their two guard was Anderson Hunt.
Anderson Hunt.
6 feet. Him and Greg Anthony the same size.
And then Ackles was inside, of course.
Right.
You know, you had
yeah. Oh, no doubt. So you look at their team and the level of success. You got a couple guys on the team that played.
Yeah.
Look at our team.
Yeah. That's
Right?
right. That's
So no,
Yeah.
it would have been a problem for
Yeah.
UNLV.
Yeah. What's your most proud moment of your college playing career?
My senior year, we played Tennessee for the SEC championship. We won the game in Nashville, and we had great players on our team. And Allen Houston got the tournament MVP on a losing team. And so I think Robert Horry, Melvin Cheatham, and James Robinson all got all tournament. And before they got ready to say Allen Houston's name for the MVP, the whole crowd was chanting Gary Waits, Gary Waits. I didn't make the all-tournament team. I scored 22 points against them to win the game. They were beating everybody. And so I was thinking, okay, cool, give me that. Give me the all-tournament team, you know, at least. I didn't make it. But it meant more to me that the fans saw it. And so that was a very proud moment for me to win my third SEC tournament championship with the fan base. And quite frankly, the whole crowd knowing, I should have been on that team too. And so I'm proud of the friendships that I developed, the brotherhood I developed at the University of Alabama that I still communicate with today, and the memories of winning, you know, it's most important to me.
Mm-hmm. You know, I do feel like that back then the point guard position was more of a blue collar position.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not as much scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do you think that sort of factored into things?
Yeah. Because if you look at my senior year, I scored 36 against Georgia at Georgia, 24 at Kentucky. So I could score the ball,
ability to do it,
but I'm playing on a team with horses all around me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you put me on a team where if Coach Sanderson would have told me, Gary, I need you to go and get 20 points.
Yeah.
I could do that. I got the ball in my hand.
Yeah.
And I feel I was quick enough and skilled enough to shoot a three. I shot threes. To go by you for a layup, to pull up for a mid-range jump shot. I could do all that stuff. But at the time, only Chris Jackson in the SEC was doing
was this big scorer.
He's the only one. If you look at every team in the SEC, it was more the point guard had a specific role of getting everybody else involved.
Well, you mentioned it, Mark Jackson. I think about John Stockton. I mean, he was a scorer, but his main objective was to distribute the ball.
He's an all-time leader in assists, right?
Yeah.
Won't be broken. That record won't be broken, right? Because guys don't pass like that.
Yeah.
And so you won't see that anymore.
Yeah.
It's combo guards now. Guys who look to score first.
Yeah.
And then pass.
Yeah. I know we're kind of running low on time here, and I could sit here all day and ask you questions, but I do want to know about your family. I know you played several years in professional ball, but I want to know about your family. I know you're a family man. That is something that is very, very important to you. So what is life like in the Waits household?
I've got an 18-year-old son. My wife and I have been married. Keisha been married 20 years in November. My son is 18. He's graduated from Woodward Academy High School. Plays basketball. We got a dog, golden doodle like everybody else has.
What's your golden doodle's name?
Chip.
Okay, mine's name is Theodore. So,
yeah. So like I said, great family setup. My wife does great around the house, decorating and landscaping. But she's also, we met at AstraZeneca where we both used to work years ago. So she's in sales too, and so we've been in sales she's been in sales longer than me, obviously, because I played basketball. But she came right out of college, and she's been in sales, and we've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
And so the household is peaceful. We have a nice size home, so we have our space that we can go and escape to if we need that. We have our family time together when we want that to. Right now, it's mainly about getting my son ready for graduation and trying to get him to continue to play basketball going forward. We can talk about that. That's a whole other conversation. But my wife and I, great friends, and we do a good job of taking care of our home, and that's important to us, and taking care of business.
You've got an 18-year-old son. I've got a 6-year-old son, and I'm coaching him right now. I'm coaching his baseball team. We've got 2 games tonight. But what advice would you give me in terms of coaching my own son?
Always have fun. Always let him see that you enjoy watching him compete. The teachings that we get from sports, the discipline, the being on time, the time management, the teamwork, all of those are way more important than the wins and the losses. So getting him to understand, compete, have fun, cheer your teammates on, do it the right way, you're going to be fine. When you get caught up into losing and getting upset about losing at an amateur status, even a professional status, it's just a game. So my advice to you is just be calm all the time. Let him know that you believe in him, you trust in him. Work him hard, get him as best he can be to be prepared when he does play. But understand there's going to be ups and downs in this sport, whatever sport. Enjoy it. Don't stress over it.
One of the observations that I have, going back to basketball for just a minute before we close, but is that I think some of the younger people don't understand how good Alabama basketball has been. Would you agree with that statement? And does that kind of bother you a little bit?
Yes, of course. But if you think about it, when I asked the question to them, I said, if Alabama football wasn't as good, would you feel the same way? No. We're overshadowed by football's national championships, right? That's what the university is, and I respect that. Outside of Kentucky, no other school has had more SEC tournament or SEC championships than Alabama. That's a fact. And so I look at it from the aspect of what you're seeing now. Everybody's asking me, wow, Alabama's looking good now. Now?
It shouldn't be surprising.
Yeah. I mean, come on. And so it does aggravate me to hear people say that. And I have friends, like I said, Laterra Green and Rod Cole played at Georgia. I'm like, you guys are nothing like Alabama basketball. Now they see it, you know. And I respect Georgia, but if you look at historically, Alabama basketball is great. And so I think Coach Oates has done a great job, and I look forward to, you know, what's coming.
To me, Alabama should just. There's nothing wrong with expecting a national championship in basketball. I mean, that's not too far of a stretch. I mean, like you guys. I mean, there was this thing about getting over the hump with the Sweet 16, and then Coach Godfrey got over that hump and got to the Elite Eight in 2004, I think. And now with what Coach Oates is doing, but it shouldn't be surprising given the history of the program.
But you know, it takes consistency to get to that point. I think Coach Sanderson had consistency. We just couldn't get past the Sweet 16, and that last year actually was Arkansas.
Yeah,
we lost Arkansas. Another team we could have won, could have beaten. Me and Melvin Cheatham talked about this yesterday. We played in Atlanta again. We beat Wake Forest. It was 78 degrees when we walked into the Omni. When we came out, it was like 35 degrees. So we had a few guys get sick. I got sick. And now we have the game, you know, the next week against a great running team with Nolan Richardson's fast breaking and pressing. Got tired. I couldn't hardly breathe. Had the flu. I think Latrell Sprewell also was under the weather. James Robinson. All of us, we were not 100% because we had just gotten back from, you know, playing a game where the temperature dropped 40 degrees. It was crazy. And so, again, I wish we could have that time back again with that UNLV team and that Arkansas team. I wish we had those times back. I think we had a national championship caliber team, but we lost in the Sweet 16. So,
yeah. Well, man, this has been a blast to kind of take a walk down memory lane. I appreciate it. And next time, I'm going to have to come to Georgia. I appreciate you driving over here to Anniston today, but
no problem.
We'll have to do this again. I'll come to Georgia next time.
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
Thanks, man.
All right.